The sky over Varel Prime was filled with smoke and fire. Every few minutes, a loud boom shook the ground. The insect-like aliens called Growl were attacking again. Their ships came from the clouds, dropping more troops like angry wasps. The Varelian. Defense lines were broken. Cities were burning. The forests had turned into war zones. Commander Loro Fenn stood on the broken wall of the capital city, holding a glowing blue data pad. His thin silver skin was scratched. His breathing mask hissed with each breath. He looked tired. He looked scared. "Any word from the Galactic Council?" he asked his comms officer. The officer, a young Varelian named Kyle, shook his head. "Only one reply, sir. They said, 'Help is on the way.'" Loro sighed. "We need now, not on the way." Suddenly, alarms rang out. A red light flashed on the wall. Soldiers ran to their stations. "Another Growl swarm incoming!" Kyle shouted. From the distance, huge flying beasts covered in armor flew toward the city. Behind them came black ships, shaped like beetles, landing outside the city walls. Thousands of Growl crawled out, ready to kill, ready to eat. Loro looked up to the stars. He whispered, "Please, someone answer our call." Far above Varel Prime, a small, dark ship came out of warp space. It was different from council ships. No bright lights, no fancy design. It was built like a knife. Silent, sharp, deadly. Inside that ship stood Captain Sarah Quinn. She was human. Her face was calm. Her short brown hair was tied back. Her eyes looked cold and focused. Around her stood 5 more humans, each one dressed in heavy armor, their weapons strapped to their backs. She looked at the planet below. "Let's go," she said. "They're dying down there." One of her team, a large man named Mason, grinned. "Time to stretch our legs." The ship entered the atmosphere quickly, avoiding Grail patrols. It flew straight toward the capital city. Loro stood in shock as the black ship landed just outside the city gate. The gate guards pointed their weapons. The crowd of refugees screamed. Everyone thought it was another Grail dropship, but the ship didn't attack. It opened slowly with a hiss. 6 figures walked out, tall, armored, strange, dangerous. They didn't look like any species Loro had seen before. Their skin was soft, but their eyes were fierce. Their movements were calm, like they were not afraid of anything. The lead figure removed her helmet. Loro stepped forward. Who are you?" "I'm Captain Sarah Quinn," she said. "Earth, Special Forces. You asked for reinforcements?" Loro blinked. "Yes, but the council said they were sending help. Just 6 of you?" Sarah smiled. 6 is enough." Kale whispered to his commander. "I've never heard of Earth. Is it in the core systems?" "No," Loro replied. "It's one of the outer colonies, a death world." Kale's eyes widened. Everyone knew the stories about death worlds. Planets so dangerous that even walking outside could kill you. Planets full of volcanoes, storms, beasts, and diseases. Only the strongest survived there. Sarah and her team walked past the Varelians, heading toward the city wall. One of them, Raj, looked at the burning horizon and said, "We're late. They've already overrun half the region." Another, a woman named Callie, checked her scanner. "We've got 20 minutes before the next major push." Loro called after them. "What are you going to do?" Sarah answered without turning around. "What we came here for. Save your people." The next growl wave hit harder than any before. Hundreds of flying beasts dove from the sky. Crawling Grail soldiers stormed the walls. The Varelians tried to hold the line, but their energy weapons were weak. Their soldiers were too few. Then the humans moved. Captain Sarah jumped from the wall without fear, landing among the enemy with a thud. Her plasma blade lit up with a blue glow. She cut through Grawl with skill and power. Raj threw grenades into Graal nests. Callie sniped flying beasts with perfect shots. Mason carried a heavy chain gun and laughed like a maniac as he fired into the swarm. One Grail monster, 3 times the size of a Varelian, charged at them. Sarah didn't flinch. She ran straight at it, jumped, landed on its back, and drove her blade into its head. The Varelian soldiers stopped fighting just to watch. Kyle whispered, "They're not soldiers. They're monsters." "No," Loro said softly. "They're humans." When the battle ended, the ground was covered with dead Grail. The air smelled like smoke and blood. The Varelians had lost over 100 defenders, but the city still stood. And the humans? Not one of them had died. Later that night, in the ruined command post, Loro sat across from Captain Sarah. "Why are you here?" he asked. "The council banned Earth. They said your kind was too violent." Sarah drank from her canteen. "They did, and we were." She looked him in the eye. "But when people are dying, you don't send diplomats. You send monsters." Loro didn't know what to say. She stood up. "We'll hold the line. We'll buy your people time to evacuate." "You're only 6, Loro said. "They'll send more Grail." "Then we'll kill more," Mason said from the corner. That night, the humans slept on the wall. They didn't ask for beds. They didn't complain. Kyle approached them carefully. "You're from Earth?" Sarah nodded. "What's it like?" She smiled sadly. "Hot, cold, beautiful, terrifying. Every day, something tries to kill you." Kyle shivered. "Then how did you survive?" Sarah looked at him with eyes like steel. "We adapted." In the morning, a new threat appeared. A giant Grail bioship descended from the clouds. It was different, bigger, alive, covered in moving armor. It landed outside the city and roared. A hole opened from its side. Out crawled a beast the size of a house. It had claws like swords. Its many red eyes glowed with hate. Even the humans paused. Loro asked, "What is that?" Raj answered quietly, "That's not a soldier. That's a war beast." Kyle panicked. "We can't fight that." Sarah looked at her team. "Form up. No fear." Mason grinned. "Now this is a challenge." The war beast roared so loudly that windows shattered in the city behind the wall. The Varelians screamed and ran for cover. Even trained soldiers dropped their weapons and fell to their knees. The monster had 6 legs, each as thick as a tree. Its long tail was tipped with a sharp bone blade, and its chest armor glowed with bioenergy. Commander Loro Fenn stood frozen, staring at the creature with wide eyes. "This is it," whispered Kale. "The end." But the humans didn't run. They didn't panic. They simply looked at the beast like hunters spotting prey. "All right," said Captain Sarah Quinn calmly. "Standard protocol. We take it down fast and loud." Raj pulled out a heavy launcher from his back. "Got something special for this one." Callie adjusted her visor. "Its eye clusters are weak. Aim there." Mason cracked his knuckles. "Big guy's mine." Loro couldn't believe what he was hearing. "You're going to fight that thing?" Sarah nodded. "That's why we're here." The war beast charged forward, shaking the ground with every step. Its long arms smashed into the wall where the humans stood. Stone and metal flew everywhere. But the humans moved fast, like shadows in battle armor. Sarah rolled under the swing, jumped, and slashed at the beast's leg. Sparks flew. Mason ran head-on and punched the creature's other leg with a weaponized gauntlet. The beast roared in pain. From a nearby rooftop, Raj fired a missile. It struck the monster in the back, making it stumble. The Varelians watched. From below, completely shocked. "They're fighting it." "And winning," Kale whispered. The war beast howled again. From its mouth, it shot a stream of acid that melted the edge of the city wall. Callie barely dodged it and returned fire with her sniper rifle, shooting into the beast's left eye cluster. More black blood poured out. The monster screamed again and smashed a building. Raj threw another explosive. Sarah climbed the beast's back like a mountain. She planted a charge at its neck, jumped off, and shouted, "Fire in the hole!" Boom! The head exploded in a burst of green-blue gore. The war beast shook violently, took 2 more steps, then collapsed with a loud crash. Dust rose high into the air. Everything went quiet. The battle was over. The people of Varel Prime came out of hiding. They looked at the fallen beast, then at the 6 humans standing near its body. Some clapped, some cried, some simply stared. Loro walked forward and said in a quiet voice, "You saved the city again, with only 6 fighters." Sarah took off her helmet. Her face was sweaty but calm. "Good team, good weapons, and a little human madness," she said. Loro looked at the dead war beast. "I've never seen anything like this." "That's because your species never had to survive a place like Earth," she replied. Later in the command room, Loro sat with the human team. He looked at each one of them carefully. "You said Earth is a death world," he began. "I've heard that word, but I never truly understood it. Tell me, what makes your world so dangerous?" Mason leaned back and smiled. "Where do we start?" Raj chuckled. "Our oceans have sharks, jellyfish that can kill with one sting, and giant squids," Callie added. "The forests have snakes, spiders, wild cats, and poison plants. Even the birds can attack." Sarah nodded. "Weather changes quickly. Heat waves, tornadoes, lightning storms, volcanoes, earthquakes, ice storms. And that's just nature." Loro raised his eyebrows. "What about the people?" Sarah's voice became quiet. "We fought each other for thousands of years. Wars, revolutions, invasions. Every weapon you can think of. Guns, bombs, fire, disease, we've used it. We learned to survive or die," Kyle whispered. "Why would anyone live on a world like that?" "Because we were born there," Raj said with a grin, "and it made us strong." The next day, the humans helped train the Varelian soldiers. Mason taught them hand-to-hand combat. Sarah showed them how to set traps and ambushes. Raj shared his knowledge of explosives. Even Callie trained the snipers. The Varelians were nervous at first, but slowly they began to follow. One soldier asked Sarah, "Why are you helping us?" Sarah paused. "Because once no one helped us. We were alone. So now we help others, no matter what the council says." Later that evening, a scout came running into the city. "Commander Loro! Urgent report!" Loro stepped forward. "What is it?" "A Grawl force is gathering 5 kilometers from here. It's big, very big. Dozens of ships, hundreds of troops. They're preparing for one final attack." Loro turned to Sarah. "Can you hold them back again?" Sarah looked at her team. "We can hold them," she said. "But we'll need your soldiers this time." Loro nodded. "You'll have them." The next day, Varel Prime prepared for the biggest battle yet. The humans set up traps, sniper points, and fallback zones. They taught the Varelians how to move, how to shoot, how to fight without fear. At sunset, the sky turned dark again. The Grail came. Thousands of them. Roaring, screeching, flying, crawling. But this time, the Varelians were ready, with humans beside them. The first wave hit hard. The traps worked. Explosives buried underground took out entire squads of Grail. Snipers picked off flying beasts. Varelian soldiers, now braver and smarter, fought with new strength. Mason and Raj stood on the front lines, covering the left flank. Callie picked off Grawl commanders from a distance. Sarah led a charge straight into the enemy's heart. The humans fought like they were born for war. The Grawl didn't know how to handle them. Every time a human got knocked down, they stood back up, faster, angrier, and stronger. Loro watched from the wall and whispered, "What are humans made of?" Kyle answered, "Survival." Hours passed. The battlefield turned into a nightmare of fire and blood. But slowly the tide turned. The Grail numbers dropped. Their war machines were broken. Their leaders were dead. The remaining Grail fled into the sky, leaving behind their dead. Cheers erupted across the city. The people of Virel Prime had survived again because of 6 humans. That night, fires were lit in celebration. Children laughed for the first time in weeks. Songs were sung in the streets. Loro stood with Sarah on the wall looking over the city. "You came when no one else did," he said. "Why?" Sarah looked at the stars. "Because you called. And we don't ignore calls for help." Loro asked, "What happens now?" Sarah's face turned serious. "Now? The Council will learn that humans are still in the game, whether they like it or not." The sun rose over the battered city of Virel Prime. Smoke still drifted from the battlefield, but the ground was quiet now. No more war beasts, no more screaming, no more fear, for now. Commander Loro Fenn stood at the city wall, watching the horizon. His people were tired, wounded, and grieving, but they were alive. And they had survived not because of the Galactic Council, but because of 6 humans from a death world. Behind him, workers began cleaning the streets. Virelian children ran between tents, laughing for the first time in many days. Sarah Quinn, the human captain, walked up beside him. Her armor was scratched and burned, her face lined with exhaustion, but her eyes were sharp as ever. "Looks peaceful," she said. Loro nodded. "For now. But the growl will return." Sarah shrugged. "Let them." That afternoon, Sarah gathered her team and the Virelian officers in a large command tent. A hollow map of the region glowed in the center. Raj pointed at the far mountain range. "Grail signals from that side. Might be building a base there." Callie nodded. "They're not retreating, just regrouping." Loro looked at the humans. "We need to understand what we're really facing. What do the Grail want?" Mason answered, "They don't want. They consume." Sarah stepped forward. "They're not like you. They're not even like us. They're a swarm. One mind, one hunger. Planets are nothing but food to them. Cities, forests, people, it's all the same. They destroy and move on." Kale, the young Virelian comms officer, looked confused. "Then how did they survive so long? The Council should have stopped them by now." Raj laughed bitterly. "The Council doesn't fight wars, it manages them." That night, as the soldiers rested, Kale approached Sarah by the fire. "I've read about Earth," he said. "Just a little. They say it's a planet where everything tries to kill you." Sarah smiled. "That's true. Even the plants can be deadly." "Then why are humans so happy?" Kyle asked. "Why do you smile in battle? Why do you laugh when killing monsters?" She thought for a moment, then said, "Because we learned a long time ago that fear doesn't help. Pain doesn't stop the world. We laugh to remind ourselves we're still human." Kyle tilted his head. "And you don't fear death?" Sarah's eyes looked into the fire. "We do. But we fear dying without meaning even more." Later, Loro sat with the humans and listened to their stories. Raj told tales of Earth's deadly jungles, of tigers, anacondas, and poison frogs. Mason spoke of frozen tundras where only the strong survived. Callie described oceans filled with sharks, storms, and whirlpools. Then Sarah told the story of Earth's history. "We nearly destroyed ourselves," she said. "Our own weapons, our own greed. We had world wars, nuclear fire, pandemics, even starvation. But we survived. We always survive." Loro asked softly, "And that's why the Council fears you?" Sarah looked at him. "Yes. They fear what can't be controlled, and humans can't be controlled." The next morning, a council ship arrived. It was silver, smooth, and elegant. not built for war, but for display. It landed just outside the city gates, and from it stepped 4 diplomats in golden robes. The Varelians bowed. The humans did not. One of the diplomats, a tall creature with long fingers and a flat face, approached Loro. "We have come," it said, "to offer support and relief." Loro glanced at Sarah, then answered, "You're late." The diplomat ignored the comment. "We were told there was an unauthorized Earth unit here." Sarah stepped forward. "That's us." The diplomat looked annoyed. "You were disavowed by the council." "You should not be in this war zone," Raj muttered. "You're welcome, by the way." The diplomat turned to Loro. "These humans are dangerous. They bring chaos. The council asks that they leave immediately. We will handle things from here." Loro's jaw tightened. "The humans saved my planet." The diplomat didn't blink. "Still, they are a threat to galactic stability." Sarah stepped closer. "The only threat here is your weakness." Gasps came from the Varelians. The council officials stepped back in shock. Sarah didn't stop. "You let the Graal grow. You send words instead of weapons. You let peaceful worlds burn. We stopped them, not you." The diplomat's voice turned cold. "You are out of line." Sarah grinned. "Always." The council left soon after, giving only basic supplies and fake smiles, but their message was clear. The humans were not welcome, not officially, not politically. That night, Sarah sat with her team. "We can't stay much longer," she said. "They'll come for us if we do," Mason grumbled. "Let them try." But Sarah looked serious. "This isn't our war, not officially. We're shadows, tools. The council uses us when needed and forgets us when they don't." Raj said, "Then what now?" She looked toward the stars. "We wait for the next call, and when someone cries for help, we answer." Loro found her later standing alone on the ruined wall. "You're leaving, aren't you?" "Yes," Sarah said. "We've done what we can." "You've done more than anyone else," he replied. He took a deep breath. "What do I tell my people when they ask why you left?" Sarah smiled sadly. "Tell them the truth, that Deathworlders came when no one else did, and remind them we're still out there." Before leaving, the humans gave the Varelians a gift: blueprints for stronger weapons, better armor, and human battle training data. Callie gave her sniper rifle to Kyle. "Take care of it," she said. "And yourself." Raj left a box of explosives with handwritten notes. Mason just slapped soldiers on the back and said, "Fight hard, die loud." Sarah gave Loro a communicator. "If it ever gets bad again," she said, "press this. We'll come." Loro held it tightly. "Even if the council says no?" Sarah looked him in the eye. "Especially if they say no." The black human ship lifted off at sunrise. It flew quietly into the sky, disappearing into the clouds. No music, no goodbye speeches, just a whisper left behind in the wind. They came. They fought. They vanished. The Varelians stood watching, feeling a strange mix of pride and loss. Kale whispered, "They were more than soldiers." Loro nodded. "They were survivors. They were human." 3 weeks had passed since the Deathworlders left Varel Prime. The city was still standing, but the scars of war remained. Craters filled the fields. Burned walls lined the roads. Families lived in tents while crews rebuilt homes. Yet the people had changed. They were not the same frightened Varelians from before. They stood straighter, trained harder, watched the sky every night, and always remembered the humans who had come when no one else did. Commander Loro Fenn kept the communicator close, just in case. One morning, just after dawn, alarms blared from the southern tower. Kyle, now chief of comms, rushed in with a message. "Commander, new Grail ships just exited warp near the mountain region. They're different." Loro frowned. "Different how?" Kyle tapped the screen. "They're faster, heavier armor. We think they've adapted to the humans." Loro's eyes narrowed. Get the scouts ready. I want eyes on the ground. In the mountains, a small Varelian scout team moved quietly through the rocky paths. They were led by Saren, a skilled soldier trained personally by the humans. He held up a hand to stop the group. Look! They hid behind rocks and stared at the strange Grail base ahead. It wasn't like before. No crawling masses or wild beasts. This base was clean, built with purpose. Towering biostructures glowed with blue light. And in the center stood a figure, taller, sleeker, armored like a machine. Saren whispered, "That's new." Suddenly, the figure turned its head directly toward them. Its eyes glowed red. Saren's blood ran cold. "We've been seen. Fall. Back!" Back in the city, Loro studied the scout report. The Grail have changed. They're using strategy now. Kyle added, "One of our teams was ambushed. They didn't even make it back to warn us." Loro's hands clenched. "They're learning. From the humans." Kyle looked shocked. "You mean the Grail are copying us?" Loro nodded slowly. "No, they're copying them. The Deathworlders." At the edge of the capital, Kale activated the human communicator. He stared at it, unsure if it would even work. A green light blinked. A second passed. Then a voice answered. "This is Captain Quinn." Kale's face lit up. "You came back!" Sarah's voice was calm. "Didn't say goodbye forever, did we?" Kale quickly explained the situation, the evolved Grawl, the new base, the strange leader. Sarah didn't speak for a moment. Then she said, "We're on our way." By the next day, the black human ship returned, cutting through the sky like a blade. It landed near the same crater where they had first arrived. Loro greeted them at the gate. "You came fast." Sarah stepped out, followed by Raj, Mason, Callie, and the others. "Danger evolves quickly. We had to be faster." Loro took them to the command room and showed the new Grail leader. Sarah narrowed her eyes. "That's not a war beast. That's a commander, a Queen's Knight." Mason raised an eyebrow. "Thought those were just rumors." Sarah shook her head. "No, they're real, and they only appear when the Grail face a true threat." Raj laughed. "That's us." That night, the humans studied the Grail base from high ground. Sarah sat beside Loro with a scope in her hand. "They're building something," she said. "Maybe a breeding hive. Or worse." "Can you stop them again?" Loro asked. Sarah didn't answer right away. Then she said, "This time, it won't be easy. They know us now." Loro looked worried. "Then what can we do?" She looked at him with calm determination. "We adapt, like Earth taught us." The next morning, the humans began training the Varelians in advanced tactics. This time, it wasn't just defense. It was war. Callie taught them how to move in squads. Mason showed how to set explosive traps in narrow canyons. Raj worked day and night building new bombs using both human and Varelian tech. Sarah led the high-risk missions herself, striking Grail patrols and gathering data. The soldiers followed them without question. Days passed. The new Grail leader finally made its move. A massive army approached the city, not in chaos, but in perfect formation. Grail drones scouted the skies. Infantry marched in rows. Beasts carried weapons fused to their bodies. "They've never fought like this before," Loro whispered. Sarah answered, "That's because they've never been afraid before." The battle began under dark clouds. The Grail commander walked at the front. It wore shining bone armor, and its voice echoed across the land. Not a roar, but a calm, deadly promise. Your world will fall. Your defenders will burn. And your Deathworlders will die. Sarah stood at the wall, her blade glowing blue. "Let's see you try." The fight was worse than anything before. The Grail moved with purpose. They targeted the humans first. Snipers aimed for Callie. Explosive drones went after Raj's traps. Giant beasts charged Mason head-on. Sarah was surrounded 3 times, but broke free each time. Still, the humans began to tire. Mason took a hit to the leg. Raj ran out of explosives. Callie's rifle overheated. One Varelian unit panicked and tried to retreat, but Saren stopped them. "Stand and fight," he shouted. "We trained with Deathworlders. We don't run." They turned and fought harder. But then it happened. The Grail commander jumped the wall. It moved faster than anything they'd seen. Mason fired his heavy gun, but the shots bounced off. Raj threw a grenade. It was caught and thrown back. The creature ran straight at Sarah. They clashed in the center of the burning city, blade against claw, speed against strength. Sparks flew. Blood was spilled. The ground cracked. The entire battlefield stopped to watch. Sarah moved quickly, striking at the joints. But the commander was stronger now, strong enough to match her moves. It grabbed her by the arm and threw her across the street. She smashed through a wall. Loro shouted, "Sarah!" The Grail commander raised its claws for the final strike. But then came Mason, limping, bruised, yelling like a madman. "Get away from her!" He slammed into the creature with his shoulder, knocking it off balance. Raj appeared next, planting explosives on its back. "Say hi to Earth!" Boom! The explosion threw the commander to the ground. Sarah stood up slowly, her armor cracked. She raised her plasma blade and walked over. With one clean strike, she sliced the commander's head off. The battlefield went silent. Then, the Grawl fled. Victory again. But this time, it cost more. 2 human soldiers were badly hurt, dozens of Varelians had fallen, and the city was almost in ruins. Still, they had won. That night, the fires burned low. The soldiers sat quietly. No cheers this time. Only respect. Loro sat beside Sarah. "That was close," Sarah nodded. "Too close. They're adapting. They're learning," Loro said. "So are we," she replied. Loro looked at her. "What are you really fighting for, Sarah? Why do you keep coming back?" She stared into the night sky. "Because if we don't, who will?" The fires of battle still burned across Varel Prime, but the enemy was finally gone. The Grail had fled. Their strange new commander was dead. And though the cost was high, the city still stood. Captain Sarah Quinn sat on a broken wall, her armor cracked, her shoulder bleeding, but her face calm. She watched the sunrise through thick smoke. Around her, Varelian soldiers gathered bodies, carried the wounded, and checked for any signs of a second wave. Commander Loro Fenn walked up beside her. "You saved us again," he said quietly. Sarah didn't answer right away. She looked at the horizon, tired but alert. Finally, she replied, "Not just us. Everyone fought, you, your people, my team. It wasn't just human strength, it was unity." Loro nodded. "But without you, we wouldn't have stood a chance." Sarah stood up slowly, adjusting her broken armor. "We're not done yet." In the city square, the people gathered. Varelians, soldiers, and civilians stood in silence as the dead were honored, both Varelians and humans. 2 human soldiers were lost in the last battle. Their names were placed in the city's new stone, Wall Corporal Lane and Specialist Nico. Even the children stood still. Kale, the young comms officer, placed a single flower on the wall and said, "They came from a death world and gave their lives to save ours." Sarah watched from the side. She didn't cry, but her eyes stayed fixed on their names. "They were more than soldiers," she whispered. "They were family." Back in the command center, Loro showed Sarah new data. The Grail didn't just retreat. They jumped to another nearby system. He said, "A colony world. No defenses." Sarah leaned in. "How long until they reach it?" 3 days, maybe less. Callie, the sniper, stepped forward. "They're not done. They're moving fast, hitting soft targets. No time to wait. Raj nodded. They lost here, so now they want easier prey. Loro looked at Sarah. Will you stop them? She didn't hesitate. Yes. But when the team prepared to leave, a message came through from the Galactic Council. The hollow screen buzzed, showing the same tall, pale diplomat as before. This is Counselor Tyron, he said coldly. We have received reports that the Deathworlder unit is still active, operating outside Council orders. Loro stepped forward. They saved our planet. Twice. Tyron ignored him. Captain Quinn, you and your team are to stand down. You will not engage the Grail. Return to Earth territory. Immediately. Mason snorted. Here we go again. Sarah stayed calm. And if we refuse? Tyron's tone sharpened. Then you will be declared rogue combatants. Your actions will be considered illegal war engagement. There will be consequences. Sarah leaned closer to the screen. Let me tell you something, Counselor. While you were giving orders, people were dying. We don't follow politics. We follow the call for help. Tyron frowned. You will regret this. The screen went black. Kyle looked nervous. If you go, you'll be hunted. Raj smiled. We've been hunted before. Loro looked at Sarah. Are you sure you want to do this? She nodded. We're humans. We don't wait for permission to do what's right. The black human ship rose into the sky once more. But this time it didn't go alone. 3 Varelian ships followed, small, lightly armed, but determined. Saren and other trained Varelian soldiers volunteered to join the humans. They had learned from the best, and now they were ready. As the fleet jumped into warp, Sarah looked back at Varel Prime one last time. Let's finish this, she said. They arrived at the colony world Naraxa just as the Grail swarm descended. The peaceful farming planet had no walls, no weapons, and no warning. But this time, the monsters didn't meet soft targets. They met Deathworlders. The battle began in the skies. Callie picked off Grail flyers from her ship's turret. Raj dropped firebombs across their landing zones. Mason led the first charge, on the ground, smashing through the front line like a hammer. And Sarah? She went straight for the new Grail hive. The hive was larger than anything before, a living structure pulsing with heat and energy. Inside, thousands of eggs waited to hatch. This was no attack, it was a full colonization attempt. Sarah moved fast, cutting through guards, dodging acid blasts. Behind her, Saren and his Varelian team followed closely. Raj placed charges at every weak point. We can't let a single egg survive, Sarah said. If they root here, the war spreads. Mason slammed the last gate open. Sarah planted the final bomb at the core. Time to go, Raj shouted. As the team escaped, the hive began to crack. Glowing slime poured from the walls. The ground shook. From above, the Graal Queen appeared, massive, armored, with wings that glowed like fire. She shrieked in rage and charged toward the fleeing team. Sarah turned. I'll stop her! Mason grabbed her arm. No way, we go together. Sarah shook her head. If she escapes, this happens again. I hold her. You get everyone out. Raj's eyes narrowed. We'll come back for you, Sarah smiled. Just don't forget me. She turned and ran back into the collapsing hive. Outside, the team raced to safety. The Varelian ships pulled away just as the bombs went off. Boom! The entire hive exploded in a wave of fire and light. The Graal Queen was caught in the blast. The sky turned red. The swarm screamed and fled. The colony was saved. But there was no sign of Sarah. Back on Varel Prime, the people waited for news. Then, 2 days later, the black ship returned. Mason walked out first. Callie followed. Raj and Saren helped the injured. Loro rushed forward. Where's Captain Quinn? The team stood in silence. Then Mason handed Laura a small metal badge. Sarah's badge. She didn't make it. The city held a second ceremony, this time even bigger. Sarah's name was carved at the top of the wall. Her story was told in every school. Her picture was placed in the central tower, but her legacy was more than stone. She had changed them. She had awakened them. The people of Virel Prime, once weak and helpless, were now warriors. Weeks later, a message spread across the stars. It didn't come from the council. It didn't come from any official. It came from Loro Fen, sent on every frequency. To the peoples of the galaxy. When the monsters come, when the council turns its back, when hope fades, don't wait. Don't beg. Call the humans. Call the Deathworlders. Because they will come, and they will fight, even if it costs them everything. Far away, in deep space, a small signal beeped. In the dark cockpit of another human ship, a soldier picked up the message. He smiled. Looks like someone needs help. The Deathworlders were not gone. They were waiting.